The Greek word kulpos, ordinarily translated as bosom, can be understood as lap. In that case, Abraham's bosom might mean Abraham's lap. Lazarus took his place with Father Abraham like a child who takes his place in his father's lap. The term is probably an expansion on the common biblical Hebrew euphemism for death. Gathered to his people and gathered to his fathers. Rabbi Lichtenstein explains the term Abraham's bosom as a metaphor for the gathering of the righteous person with the sleeping righteous along the lines of the phrase, and he was gathered to his people. Lichtenstein also points out that the term is synonymous with the common euphemism for death in paradise, embrace of the righteous. It does appear in one passage in the Talmud. Today he sits in Abraham's lap. According to Lichtenstein, Rosh interpreted the Talmudic phrase, today he sits in Abraham's lap, to mean he died that day. Rabbinic literature also speaks of angels escorting the souls of the righteous into paradise. When a holy man leaves this world, 3 companies of angels attend him. As Yeshua described the soul of Lazarus being carried by angels to Abraham's bosom, he spoke in the common terms and idioms of Pharisaic theology to describe the death of the righteous. The paradise to which Lazarus went was not limbo. It was the same paradise of which Paul the Pharisee spoke when he said that to be absent from the body is to be at home with the Lord. Hades, Sheol, and Gehenna. He was in Sheol, and his pain was very great. Lucas chapter 16, verse 23. When the rich man died, he went down into Hades. The Master said, in Hades he lifted up his eyes, being in torment. In Greek mythology, one can visit the realm of the dead with Orpheus to discover a place of misery and torment ruled by the despotic Greek god Hades. Hence, the term confusion with the Greek mythological conception of Hades gave rise to the Church's popular view of a hell ruled over by Satan. Biblically, however, Satan is not the god of the underworld, nor is Hades his kingdom. Although Hades is a Greek term for a mythological underworld of the dead, Septuagint Greek used that term to translate the Hebrew Sheol. Sheol in the Hebrew Bible, the dead go down to Sheol, a spiritual abode of disembodied human souls and a metaphoric synonym for the grave. Strictly speaking, Sheol is not hell. Sheol is both the grave, the physical state of being dead, and the metaphysical place of the dead, a repository for human souls until the resurrection. Apparently outside of paradise, but some schemes place paradise within Sheol. According to rabbinic thought, the lower parts of Sheol contain Gehenna, the place of torment. The influential King James translated both Hades and Gehenna with the English word hell, but some distinction between the two should be made. Speaking more precisely, Gehenna is a region of Sheol. Even in Judaism, however, the terms are often synonymous. Gehenna has 7 names: Sheol, Abaddon, pit of destruction, pit of misery, miry clay, shadow of death, and underworld. B. Yerovim 19a. In Hebrew mythology, Sheol and Gehenna lie beneath the earth, but that spatial concept cannot be pressed literally. The rabbis did not consider Gehenna as a place literally under the ground. Some texts speak of it as chamber beneath the earth. Others said it was in the east. Still others claimed it stood somewhere in the west. Some said it stretched out above the firmament, and yet others claimed it burned at the left hand of God. In any case, Gehenna is not a tangible material place literally beneath our feet. The whole world is only 1/60th of the size of the garden paradise, and the garden is only 1/16th of Eden, and Eden is only 1/16th of Gehenna. Thus, the whole world compared to Gehenna is but as a lid on a pot. Some say that Gehenna has no limit. Others say that Eden is without limit. B. Ta'anit 10a. A consistent rabbinic theology of Gehenna, paradise, and the post-mortem state of the soul is difficult to construct. The ideals created over time and often contradict. Nevertheless, some broad strokes can be discerned. Descent into Gehenna. The rabbis taught that God created both the Garden of Eden, Paradise, and Gehenna prior to the creation of the world. The souls of sinners descend into Gehenna. The rabbi said that he who keeps the Torah has the entry to Paradise, but he who does not keep it is faced with Gehenna. The souls of sinners remain conscious during their sojourn in Gehenna. They remember with regret the misdeeds they committed while in the flesh. In some spiritual sense, they endure punishments for their sins in some sort of earthral fire, ice, and darkness. Fire, why does a man's soul shrink from the odor of brimstone? Because it knows that it will be judged therein. Genesis 51:3. Their spirit shall be cast into the furnace of fire. 1 Enoch 98:3. Ice. Enoch should have been Canaanite, I believe. The Holy One, blessed is he, judges the wicked in Gehenna for 12 months. At first he afflicts them with itching, after that with fire, at which they cry out, oh, oh, and then with snow, at which they cry out, woe, woe. Why? Sanhedrin 10:3. Darkness. Those who descend to Gehenna will be judged by nothing but darkness, as it is said in Job 10:22, the land of utter gloom, as darkness itself, of deep shadow without order, and which shines as the darkness. Tanchumah, Noach 1. The wicked are darkness. Gehenna is darkness, the depths of darkness. I lead the wicked to Gehenna and cover them with the depths. Genesis 33:1. A temporary stay. The Pharisees considered Gehenna primarily as a place of purgation, similar to the Roman Catholic purgatory. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai declared, the punishment of the wicked in Gehenna is 12 months. One opinion states, after going down to Gehenna and receiving the punishment due him, the sinner is forgiven from all his iniquities, and like an arrow from the bow, he is flung forth from Gehenna. In the apostolic view, Gehenna cannot be considered a place of permanent damnation because all the souls of the dead, the wicked and the righteous both, must return to their bodies for the resurrection before the final judgment. The Revelation says, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every one of them, according to their deeds. Revelation chapter 20:13. The Pharisaic school of Shammai believed in both the possibility of extinction and the possibility of eternal suffering in Gehenna for certain wicked souls. The opposing school of Hillel according more grace to God, but reserved some sinners for permanent torment in Gehenna as well. Not all Pharisees believed in a general resurrection of both the wicked and the dead. Some believed only Jews would be resurrected. Others believed that only Jews who had not committed certain sins and apostates qualified. Still others believed in the resurrection for only the righteous or the righteous among Israel. Apostolic theology taught a resurrection of the righteous was followed later by a general resurrection of all human beings. The apostles insisted that there shall certainly be a resurrection of both the righteous and the wicked, Acts chapter 24, verse 15. In order to accommodate that universal resurrection, all souls must leave Sheol, Gehenna, and Paradise and return to their bodies for final judgment before the throne of God. Therefore, the torments of Gehenna are only temporary. In the world to come, God will dispose of both Gehenna and Sheol along with the wicked. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. Revelation chapter 20, verse 14. The Great Divide. He was in Sheol, and his pain was very great. He lifted his eyes and saw Abraham at a distance and Lazarus in his lap. Lucas chapter 16, verse 23. In the days of the Master, the Pharisees taught about Paradise, Gehenna, the existence of the soul, and the resurrection of the dead, but the Sadducees rejected all four notions as Pharisaic nonsense. Sadducees accepted only the authority of the written Torah, since they could find neither the delight of Paradise nor the fires of Gehenna anywhere mentioned in the Torah of Moses. They dismissed both ideals as traditions of men. Perhaps the rich man in Luke 16 should be understood as a Sadducee. He begs Abraham to send Lazarus to warn his 5 brothers of their error. Abraham chides him, saying, they have the Torah and the prophets. The Pharisees attempted to bring proof for the existence of Gehenna with a text from Isaiah. And they shall go forth and look on the corpses of those who have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, and their fire shall not be quenched, and they shall be an abhorrence to all mankind. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 24. They explained that the corpses of those who rebelled referred to the souls of the damned in Gehenna. In those lower chambers of Sheol, the fire was not quenched and the worm did not die. Yeshua alluded to the same Isaiah passage in his teaching about Gehenna. The proof text from Isaiah explains why the rich man can see into paradise and Abraham and Lazarus can see into Gehenna. They shall go forth and look. In the geography of the afterlife, Gehenna lies just opposite paradise, but a great divide separates them. The souls of the righteous are able to peer across the chasm to see the souls of the wicked, and the souls of the wicked can look longingly upon the souls of the righteous in paradise. Be as the onlookers of whom it is written in Isaiah 66, verse 24, then they will go forth and look on the corpses of the men who have transgressed against me, and do not be among those who are looked upon, of whom it is written in Isaiah 66, verse 24. For their worm will not die, and their fire will not be quenched, and they will be an abhorrence to all mankind. Ecclesiastes 7:14 says, God has made the one as well as the other, that is Gehenna and the Garden of Eden. What is the distance between them? A handbreadth. Rabbi Yochanan said, a wall divides the two. The rabbis say they run parallel, so that one is visible to the other. Ecclesiastes 7:23. When the righteous come forth from the Garden of Eden and see the wicked being judged in Gehenna, their soul within them is glad. Thus it is written in Isaiah 66, verse 24, and they will go forth and look on the corpses of the men who have transgressed against me. Leviticus 32:1. The sages describe the wicked in Gehenna as gnashing their teeth at the sight of the righteous. Rabbi Nehemiah said, when the wicked ascend from Gehenna and see the righteous sitting peaceably in the Garden of Eden, they are ashamed. Hence it is written in Psalms 112, verse 10, the wicked man will see and be vexed. He will gnash his teeth. Leviticus 32:1. Yeshua alluded to the teeth gnashing image of Psalms 112 7 times across the Gospels as he described the fate of those consigned to Gehenna. Likewise, at the time of the resurrection of the righteous, the souls still held in Gehenna will weep and gnash their teeth when they see Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all the prophets, and the righteous reclining at the table in the kingdom of God in Messianic Jerusalem. Yeshua taught the same basic layout of paradise and Gehenna. The rich man in Hades lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. Luke chapter 16, verse 23. Abraham explains to the rich man, between us and you there is a great chasm fixed, in order that those who wish to come over from here to you may not be able, and none can cross over from there to us. Luke chapter 16, verse 26. Merit of Abraham. He cried out and said, my father Abraham, be gracious to me, please send Lazarus, and let him dip the tip of his finger in water to cool my tongue, for I am suffering in this burning. Lucas chapter 16, verse 24. Gehenna is a place of punishment and purgation, where the souls of the dead receive their comeuppance. A bright spring of water flows in paradise, but Gehenna is a dry and waterless place of unending thirst. The rich man begs Abraham. The Jerusalem Talmud depicts a similar scene contrasting paradise and Gehenna. A certain poor scholar died. He had a small funeral. At the same time, Bar Mayan, the village tax collector, died. The whole town took time off to mourn him. The poor scholar's friend wept, saying, woe for the righteous of Israel will have nothing. After a few days, the holy man saw his fellow holy man in a dream, walking among gardens, orchards, and fountains of water. He saw Bar Mayan, the village tax collector, with his tongue hanging out by a river. He wanted to reach the river, but he could not reach it.